Imagine this. I'm in a packed courtroom, my palms are sweating, and on the big screen, you see night vision footage of HOA goons breaking into my cabin, cutting a hole in my skylight so rain floods my grandpa's photo albums. The second that water starts pouring in on video, the judge slams his gavel, turns to our high-heeled HOA queen and says, "Ma'am, that's felony burglary." She's hauled out in cuffs, neighbors erupt in applause, and somehow the judge hands me her job, on the spot. Stick around. I'll show you how one hidden camera and a burned-down shed flipped the whole power game. My name is Porter's Paws. I'm 39, a shade under 6 feet, with that slight forward hunch common to people who've spent half their lives bent over spreadsheets. In college, they called me Crane because my neck always stretched toward a flickering monitor. I keep my dark hair military short so bedhead never delays the morning commute, yet stubborn cowlicks still betray me at the Crown. Crow's feet etched in advance of my years frame hazel eyes that catalog rooms the way auditors inventory balance sheets, lighting first, exits second, motives third. My wardrobe is an accountant's compromise. Off-the-rack chinos and button-downs softened by trail runner shoes, and an old canvas field jacket that smells faintly of cedar from hanging too long in storage. My biography reads like a column of tidy numbers until you see the zeros clustered after the minus sign. Born in St. Paul to a pair of litigating attorneys who weaponized silence during my childhood, I learned to solve conflict by subtracting myself from it. Scholarships carried me through the University of Minnesota, economics major, philosophy minor no one remembers, and into a Big Four firm where I thrived on 16-hour days that postponed decisions about love, kids, vacations, life. At 31, I married Beth, a data privacy consultant whose job kept her airborne more often than earthbound. Our condo in the North Loop looked like a West Elm catalog and felt about as lived in. When the pandemic paused travel, we discovered the uncomfortable truth. We'd built a marriage on frequent flyer points. Divorce finalized this past April, equitable on paper, brutal in the pauses between signatures. 2 weeks later, I received Grandpa's will, an unexpected letter that carried the weight of decades and the scent of nostalgia. It read simply but firmly, "The cabin is yours, Carr. Go find the boy who used to bait hooks better than anyone on the lake." Those words felt like a summons from the past, a call to rediscover a part of myself long buried beneath years of spreadsheets and city noise. The letter carried a distinct aroma, a smoky blend of pipe tobacco mingled with the crisp, fresh breeze of the lake, as if Grandpa's presence was still lingering in the paper itself. For the first time since my college days, I found myself requesting vacation time from work. It was unpaid leave, but none of that mattered. I packed my trusted field jacket, the one smelling faintly of cedar from years in storage, and slid into the driver's seat of my old Civic, steering it toward the winding roads that would lead me to Pinewood Lake. The inland air hit me differently from the first breath, thick with a humid charge tinged by iron and resin so dense it seemed to coat every breath, making my lungs work a little harder, a little more purposefully. Beneath my tires, gravel cracked and popped, a sharp contrast to the soft rustling of the trees replacing the open farmland. Birch trees with their smooth white bark traded places with towering white pines, their needles whispering secrets to the breeze. As I approached the cabin, its A-frame silhouette emerged slowly through the morning mist like a half-remembered dream, fragile yet familiar. The roof was flecked with patches of moss, evidence of many years standing quietly in the forest. The screened porch sagged under the weight of 10,000 mosquito memories, each bite a testament to summers past. Hanging proudly near the entrance was the carved cedar sign Grandpa Porter had nailed up in 1968, Porter's Paws. Take one, a beacon inviting me back to a world I once knew. On the first morning, the sunrise spilled pale pewter light over the lake's surface, so calm it perfectly mirrored the trees, reflecting upside-down branches as if nature itself had flipped on its head. I stood barefoot on the porch, feeling the rough wooden planks beneath my feet, cradling a steaming cup of coffee brewed strong enough to solder wire. The silence was almost sacred, broken only by the occasional sharp plink of a distant bullfrog calling out, and the steady low hum of my own heartbeat, gradually slowing from the frantic pace of city life to a more natural, human rhythm. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to entertain the possibility that peace was real, not some airy myth dreamed up by yoga instructors or meditation gurus, but a tangible presence here in this quiet, wild corner of the world. Which is precisely when hell pounds on the door. 4 blows, knuckles like ball-peen hammers against antique cedar. 6:02 a.m. I slosh coffee on my bare feet opening the door. 3 uniformed men fill the threshold. Black tactical boots, Kevlar vests pulled taut over barrel chests, pistol grips winking in the dim porch light. The tallest one removes mirrored aviators, though dawn has barely shown its face. "Carwin Porter?" I give a curt nod. "You have 48 hours to vacate this property. Pinewood Lake Homeowners Association has deemed the structure out of compliance with revised setback ordinances." The guard's voice is flat Midwestern monotone, polite the way a closing elevator door is polite. An envelope the thickness of a Sunday newspaper thuds into my sternum. Before adrenaline catches up with comprehension, they've executed a textbook tactical withdrawal, boot heels in unison, silent count to 3, SUV doors slammed, gravel sprayed. The envelope crackles. Inside, a stack of color photos, red circles, violation codes, a ledger of fines already tallied past 6 figures. I recognize the boathouse, my childhood spaceship, labeled unpermitted structure. A second sheet lists daily non-compliance penalties that double after midnight tomorrow. I read it all twice before noticing my coffee has cooled to the temperature of regret. 1,500 volts of panic flood through me when I flip the final page and see an itemized charge labeled Security Response Fee, Level 3, Armed, already debited from my bank via ACH. The HOA somehow has my routing number. The deduction time stamp? 5 minutes before the guards knocked. Shock morphs into a reptilian survival heat at the base of my skull. Someone planned this with surgical precision, and that someone wants me gone before I can even contest the debit with my bank's fraud department. By 9:07 a.m., my Civic rolls into the HOA headquarters, a building that looks like it was sketched by an architect who thought ski lodges were tacky until he saw the budget. River rock facade, stainless steel awnings that funnel rainwater into ornamental copper drains, a flagged stone pathway better manicured than most suburban yards. Automatic doors sigh apart, and a climate-controlled hush closes behind me. Reception directs me to President's office. Frosted glass doors glide open, revealing Doris Clark. Doris is early 40s and curated. The word groomed feels inadequate. Hair a precise wheat blonde bob parted 2 millimeters left of center, reflecting slivers of softbox ceiling lights. Skin flawlessly matte, as though pores were a design flaw evolution corrected in her lineage. Eyes pale green, irises rimmed by a darker shade that makes them look photoshopped in real time. She wears a white silk blouse devoid of wrinkles, navy cigarette-cut trousers, and kitten heels with gold buckles polished to a museum gleam. Nose subtle work of cosmetic genius, lips move with the elasticity of someone who practices smiling before meetings. Her scent is calculated, bergamot high note, vetiver base, expensive, non-floral, power disguised as class. She doesn't rise from her chair. Instead, she remains seated with an almost imperceptible air of command, as if her very presence roots her to that polished walnut desk. There's no gesture inviting me to sit down, no softening of posture or courteous offer of a seat. Instead, her eyes hold a calm, unreadable expression that feels more like a challenge than a welcome. "Mr. Porter," she says smoothly, her voice clipped and precise. "Please shut the door behind you. The air handling system is calibrated to maintain optimal conditions." Even this seemingly polite remark carries the weight of an order. It's a reminder that every word, every movement here is controlled, measured, and designed to keep me on edge. I don't protest. I slide into the chair across from her without waiting for an invitation, because to stand in her presence feels like making a declaration of defiance, and I'm not ready for that just yet. I place the thick envelope I brought from home firmly on her desk, the sound of the paper sliding over the polished wood, breaking the silence like a shot. Your men showed up armed, I say, voice low but steady, locking eyes with her. Protocol, she replies without hesitation. Her fingers tap out a quick rhythm on the keyboard hidden just out of sight, causing lines of letters to flicker across a concealed screen. Previous incidents involving non-compliant hostility necessitated escalation. We act according to established procedures. I can't help but laugh, a short, sharp sound that almost catches in my throat. Hostility? I echo incredulously, glancing down at my own attire. My plaid pajama pants are still dusted with stray coffee grounds from this morning's brew, hardly the look of a threat. Do I really look hostile to you? Finally, Doris smiles. But it's not the warm curve of friendship. It's a shark's subtle grin, cold, calculating, and unsettling. Everyone looks harmless. Until they aren't, she says, flipping a sleek tablet toward me. The screen lights up with an aerial image of my cabin, overlaid with harsh neon lines marking boundaries and zones. According to Survey Revision 12 ratified just last week, she continues, voice smooth but sharp, your dwelling encroaches 48 feet onto designated green space. Similarly, your boathouse extends 17 feet into the communal riparian access zone. These violations pose significant liability risks, which necessitate immediate eviction. I scan the map, but none of the parcel numbers look familiar. Where is the original survey? I ask, trying to steady my voice. Her perfectly manicured nails tap a silent metronome on a leather-bound folio. Obsolete records cause confusion. We operate using the most current and legally ratified data. I fold the edge of the debit notice I still clutch, summoning whatever courage I have left. You extracted a level 3 fee directly from my bank account. Doris arches flawless eyebrows in response. Electronic authorization is standard practice. Your grandfather signed consent forms during the HOA's modernization in 2017. We simply updated those forms to reflect new membership terms. E-authorization? I think bitterly to myself. Grandpa couldn't even set the clock on his old VCR. The room feels like it's tilting, and my head swims slightly. She senses the falter and presses forward, her voice lowering with practiced ease. Look, these transitions go much more smoothly when sellers cooperate. I've prepared a purchase offer for you, fair market value, plus a relocation bonus. Without hesitation, she pushes a glossy folder across the desk toward me, sliding it like a peace treaty laid on the battlefield. I open it carefully, eyes flicking over the numbers inside. They add up to an insult, a sum so low that it wouldn't even cover a single semester of my college tuition. I'm not selling, I say quietly, the words tasting cold and metallic in my mouth. Doris clasps her hands, pearls winking beneath cuffed sleeves. Then I suggest you begin packing. Non-compliance accrues at 12% daily. Interest compounds. She flashes a smile with the exact warmth of LED lighting. Outside, Minnesota humidity squeezes my lungs. 7 SUVs labeled Pinewood compliance idle like albino panthers. The drive back blurs. Each birch trunk flashes like a courtroom strobe. I pull into the gravel lane where sunlight pours through aspen leaves, turn off the ignition, and the silence is loud enough to hurt. Inside the mailbox, a single envelope from county tax assessor stamped under review, valuation pending, so the county's dancing too. Porch boards groan behind me. Shanley Maddox emerges, spine bent but eyes bright. He wipes calloused palms on his overalls. George kid, right? 'Bout time. I nod, voice fraying. They gave me 48 hours. Shanley spits a seed husk that lands at precisely the property line. They gave your grandpa 60 days last year. He told him to shove it. Next month he had 3 strokes. Coincidence if you like stories. He hooks a thumb toward the lake where afternoon sun gilds the water. That shoreline's gold to Karen, with a capital K. Karen, I echo. Shanley's laugh is part cough, part thunder. Doris Karen Clark runs this place like a country club for folks who hate country music. She's got a developer lined up to build a yacht marina. He spits again, seed striking gravel like a period. Only problem, the marina needs deep water. That's your dock, son. Take your dock away and her $1 million brochure turns into lake sludge. Lightning gnarls across a cloudless sky. The storm is internal. I, Carwin Porter, man of numbers, just found my first non-numeric truth since childhood. Some lines you don't let other people redraw. I open the cedar tool shed and pull out a box of survey stakes, each tipped in fluorescent orange. Grandpa's handwriting on the lid reads, "Truth Sticks." That night I walked the perimeter under a half moon, planting stakes exactly where the 1963 deed says they belong. Each hammer strike echoes off the lake like a rifle report. When the final stake meets earth, I stare at the cabin silhouetted against silver water and whisper a promise. To myself, to Grandpa, to the boy I used to be. I will not subtract myself this time. A mosquito whine of propellers needles me awake an hour before sunrise. Through frost-rimmed glass, I see the HOA-branded quadcopter hovering, each rotor throwing a perfect halo in the pale blue pre-dawn. Its red camera diode blinks like a Morse code warning. We're watching. Below, the fresh blaze-orange survey stakes I drove into the earth last night glow radioactive in the drone's LED spot. After a slow orbit, the machine zips toward the opposite shore where Doris Clark's angular mansion crouches behind steel gates and manicured loblolly pines. My phone buzzes with overdraft warnings. Fines already exceed $1,180 since midnight, interest ticking every 60 seconds. I screen record the live total, flip the phone horizontal to read the HOA memo line. Level 3 compliance monitoring, safety surcharge. The cynicism stings worse than the money. I pad across cold pine floorboards to the kitchen where the percolator is already burbling. Last night I preset it, a ritual I adopted after the divorce when silence at 5 a.m. felt like drowning. The metallic gurgle calms me. Steam carries the smell of chicory and cedar smoke, the scent of boyhood summers when Grandpa rose at dawn to fish crappie from the cove. Knuckles rap twice on the screen door. Ira Findlay slips inside without waiting, cheeks wind-slapped pink, 2 cardboard coffee carriers balanced in her arms. "Double shot for the defendant," she says, handing me the hotter cup. She's in fleece and mud-flecked trail pants, hair in a Dutch braid that keeps whipping strands from her eyes. A manila folder protrudes from her satchel. "County vault opened at 6, she says, spreading faded blueprints and linen surveys across the breakfast table. "Riparian and subsurface rights untouched. Your grandfather was meticulous. Look." Her finger traces legend marks, iron pins set 1963, depth 36 inches. Steel pins don't drift, not unless an earthquake drags them. I exhale a breath I didn't know I held. Sunlight seeps through lace curtains, turning survey ink to copper flame. I see not just a line on paper, but Grandpa's stubborn penmanship, and feel the stewardship settle on my shoulders like wrought iron armor. By mid-morning, we've turned the cabin into a frontier blockhouse. Arrow wires solar-powered floods under eaves. I measure sight lines for trail cams, each SD card set to auto-backup via cellular dongle. Grandpa's 8-day clock, walnut veneer, brass pendulum, conceals a dime-sized 4K lens I epoxied behind the numeral 13 after reading about Watergate. I position it on the mantel aimed at the front door. Shanley Maddox arrives at noon with a creaking cooler full of walleye, 2 battered tool belts, and an ancient CB radio. He sets the radio on the porch rail, adjusts the squelch until static softens. "FCC can't subpoena what it can't decode," he says, assigning call signs. "Pinewood Eagle for me, Loon Papa for himself, North Star for Era. Static pops acknowledgement. We hammer stakes, stringing reflective paracord at ankle height. A trip line for intruders and for deer alike, but I figure the deer will forgive me. Sweat soaks my shirt. Each thunk of the post driver sounds like a verdict. Just after 9, the lake glass calms. Dusky smears of violet and peach paint the water. 2 white HOA SUVs roll by, headlights dimmed to a glow. Sensors trigger. Every flood ball ignites, flooding the woods in stadium light. Through tinted windshields, I see guards wince. Engines growl, tires spit gravel retreating back toward the gated enclave. Era fist bumps me. Behavioral data point. Predators prefer shadow. I arm the homemade alarm grid. Open source Raspberry Pi code I wrote between 3 and 5 a.m. during last year's tax season. Blue LEDs wink alive. Loon calls drift across the cove, sounding like laughter in a foreign language. Before sleep claims me, I reread a note from Grandpa tucked in the survey tube. If they come with pens, show them math. If they come with guns, show them family, then show them the door. I mouthed the words like a creed and let exhaustion drag me under. 3:13 a.m. A single siren wails, then another, overlapping like clashing trumpets. I bolt upright. Through the east windows, a wall of orange roars skyward, the tool shed fully engulfed. Resin-rich pine pops like small arms fire. Embers sail over the canopy. I yank the hose reel. Dry. Doris cut the main again. Barefoot over gravel, I sprint downhill, lungs slicing cold air. Moonlight shows minnows scattering as I plunge a 5-gallon bucket into the lake. Back up the incline, calf muscles shredding, I slosh water onto the inferno. Steam backhands me with scalding droplets. Rumble behind, Era's Wrangler fishtails into the yard. She jumps out, hefting twin extinguishers. Shanley barrels from the tree line wielding a yellow can marked foam. We form a bucket brigade ballet. Water, foam, curses, coughs, repeat. 30 breathless minutes grind by until the shed is a char-black ribcage steaming in the cool dawn. Propane tank hisses quiet. Rainbow film on puddles confirms gasoline. My palms blister. Era's braid is singed at the tail. Shanley's denim jacket smolders at the cuff. He beats it out, wheezing laughter. A lanky state fire marshal named Torres arrives with 2 deputies, stepping over melted nails that poke the soil like jagged teeth. She kneels, sniffs the muddy ash. "Accelerant," she says, jotting notes. I hand over an SD card. Drone footage time-stamped 2:07 a.m. Quadcopter spotlighting the shed roof in a lazy circle before shooting upward. Torres's silver eyebrow arches. Somebody wanted a bonfire on film. She pockets the card in an evidence bag. Era's Jeep becomes a mobile law office. Laptop perched on console, she drafts an emergency motion while I drive 15 miles to county court. Sun finally clears the horizon, bloody red behind smoke haze. Judge Miller, an ex-Marine with eyebrows like snowy caterpillars, slots us between a bail hearing and a zoning spat. Ira presents charred debris photos, severed PVC from the water main, bank logs of daily fines, and the drone video. Doris Clark sits 2 pews back, charcoal suit, pearl buttons, expression carved from permafrost. When Ira mentions the disabled hose line, Doris's jaw flexes, a micro flinch caught by Miller's scrutiny. Gavel crack, restraining order. All fines frozen, utilities restored within 2 hours. Hearing date set for 10 days. Miller's final look at Doris is dagger sharp. Any contact with Mr. Porter or his property, direct or by proxy, and I will personally arrange your lodging in County Orange. Outside the courthouse, local station KDLX sticks a microphone under my chin. I simply say, "I'm here to keep a promise to my grandfather," then climb into Era's Jeep, leaving the soundbite to echo. Power flickers back on at noon. Shanley's grandson uploads the drone clip with metal soundtrack and the hashtag #ShikarenFire. Within hours, it hits 250,000 views. Commenters meme Doris into a Game of Thrones villain. The HOA message board melts, half threats, half popcorn emojis. Electricians working on the blown transformer mention they've had 3 similar calls in as many weeks, all properties resisting Doris's buyouts. I log each address, pattern recognition tingling. That night, the cabin is a war room. LED strings loop from rafters. Empty coffee cups litter the table. I burrow into QuickBooks exports Shanley smuggled out before the board locked him out. Payments to Lakeview Revital LLC, Northern Vista Consultants, Pine Compliance Services, all P.O. boxes tied to a single EIN and Doris's maiden name. I color code rows, sums crest $723,108 over 36 months. I change the header in row 1 to fraud. A text from my estranged mother arrives. Saw the news clip. Proud of you. Courage is a muscle, son. Keep flexing. I wipe a tear I pretend is exhaustion. 8:01:07 a.m. A courier van idles at the gate, hazard lights pulsing. Driver drops a padded envelope stamped HOA security. Inside, a polished silver key and a printed note. Locks changed for your protection. Vacate by sunrise. I photograph every angle forward to ERA. We kill interior lights. Cameras set to live stream on triple redundancy. At 2:14 a.m., the van returns, headlights off. 6 silhouettes emerge, compliance polos glowing faintly. The new key clicks. The front door yawns. They move with burglary confidence, sweeping lasers across walls, tagging furniture with neon dots. Leader, a broad man with mangold stitched on his chest, orders, survey packets first, anything marked original, then sentimental junk, leverage. Clock cam records every whisper, every drawer rifled. One thug pops a box cutter, slices the skylight seal, rain tomorrow forecast at 90%. They exit with duffel bags stuffed, van melts into darkness. Upload complete before engines fade. Judge Miller schedules contempt in 48 hours, citing possible felony burglary. Doris files a counter-motion claiming I threatened her with an axe while chanting, "Burn it all." Miller dismisses within 10 minutes, warns her counsel of sanctions. The HOA calls an emergency membership meeting at the community pool. Folding chairs in rows, Janet Jackson headset on Doris. I enter live streaming to 12K viewers. Doris launches into a slide deck titled Protecting Property Values, blaming rogue contractors for the burglary. Homeowner hands shoot up. Why 2 a.m.? Where's the $300 increase going? Anger simmers. A bored kid cannonballs, sending tidal wave over Doris. Silk blouse clings transparent. Beneath, lavalier mics and spare batteries tape-strapped to skin. Gasps pivot to laughter. Someone yells, "We're the rogue contractors!" Clip hits TikTok as poolside Karen gets dunked and cracks 1,000,000 loops by nightfall. ERA files for a court-ordered forensic audit. Shanley digs up 20 years of paper minutes, forged signatures, phantom festivals with porta-potties billed at 10 grand a pop. I overlay the minutes against bank statements. Embezzlement now $936,500 and counting. Courtroom packed with reporters. I project skylight/footage. Rainwater cascades in slow-mo over photo albums. Miller leans forward, knuckles white on bench. "These are acts of malice, Ms. Clark." He bangs gavel. Suspension, property trespass injunction, referral to district attorney. Deputies flank Doris. Stilettos clack a desperate staccato as she's escorted out. Board votes me interim treasurer. I accept, voice shaking. Thunder rolls outside like applause. Homeowners line up to hand me crumpled receipts, photos of broken fences, copies of inflated invoices. Night deepens. I stand on the dock under a dinner plate moon. Cinders from the shed still scent the air with sweet tar. I skim a stone, ripples glow silver. "Ledger's clean, Grandpa," I whisper. A loon's tremolo echoes back, a wild signature. And for the first time since armed guards rattled my door, I feel the lake claiming me not as trespasser, but as rightful keeper.